Hi, everybody. Jennifer here on your Saturday night live stream, Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies, coming at you live from Lizzie Lou's studio. You know where I am. It's Saturday night. Looks like Sandy is here already. Let's see. She made a comment. Um, Let me jump over to my comments. I hope you can see me and hear me. I can't see the comment. So I hope you can see me. And if you can't, jump over to YouTube. If you can't see me and hear me on Facebook, jump over to YouTube. So I got a notification that said that Sandy made a comment, but I don't see a comment. So I'll be looking for it. My Facebook looks kind of grayed out up in the corner. So anyways, give me a holler, folks. Let me know what's going on. I can't open Facebook. It will make StreamYard echo. So anyways, all right, well, let me know if you can hear me and see me. Like I said, if you can't on Facebook, jump over to YouTube. I'm live over there too. I had a little issue with Facebook. Let's see if I can see Sandy's comment. Hold on, bear with me. Ah, Sandy, there you are. Okay, I'm feeling much better, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Thank you so much. Yeah, welcome to Saturday Night Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. Jennifer here, live stream Saturday from live from Lizzie Lou's studio. There we go. I am on the mend. Most of you know I had a little thing done, but come on, look at this. You can hardly see anything there. I had some surgery done. I had a little skin cancer thing removed from my face and then another one from my back. These stitches are out. These stitches are going to be in for another week. I'm feeling much better. Sandy, thank you for asking. And I'm going back to work next week. So I'm really on the mend and I'm really starting to feel normal. I went out and got my hair cut yesterday. I got my nails done. So just to say that I was out and about and getting life back to normal, So thank you so much for asking. For some reason, I can't see your comment in comments. But if Sandy's commenting, that means she can see us. So yeah, welcome on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching now and if you're watching later, I appreciate that as well. I do really appreciate if you do bounce over to YouTube. If you can like and subscribe, I appreciate that. I'm trying to build a little algorithm. I don't have anybody backing me. It is the Jennifer channel for Jennifer. So please do like and subscribe. I appreciate it. It helps me get seen and heard and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really trying to get better. I think week after week, I do get a little bit better. Let's see. So yeah, going through my housekeeping stuff. Also like and follow on Facebook. That always helps. Let's see. Lizzie Lou's studio. Tonight we're going to be talking about Bisbee, Arizona. This is going to be actually the second time I'm presenting something suggested by Kevin Thompson. Kevin Thompson also suggested Jerome, Arizona, and that was great. It was a haunted mining town, and I think you're going to find some similarities in Bisbee and some differences too. So thank you so much to Kevin Thompson for suggesting this, and Laurie for requesting it. Thank you, Laurie. I hope you're watching. And if not now, I hope you can tune in later. Let's see. Oh, there's Laurie. Hi, Laurie. Nice to see everybody. All right, let's see. Back to where I was. Banners. All right, doing a little housekeeping, like I said. I do want to remind folks we are a 420 space. Make yourself comfortable. 420 safe space. Smoke them if you got them. I sure did. But pour a cup of coffee, pour a glass of wine, crack a cold beer. I have a blanket on my lap. Get yourself nice and cozy and comfortable and listen. Put this on while you're sweeping the floor. Put it on in the background. I do have a question before we begin for folks. I'm going to pull up, let's see, banners. Let's see. I was considering making some merch and wonder if anybody would be interested. If you're interested, let me know what you would be interested in. Drop it in the comments. I may not respond right now, but I'm definitely going to read them later. I'm looking at building an online store, so you would order online, it would ship from there, and that would save me from like something like Vistaprint, where you got to put out money and order T-shirts and who's going to buy smalls and how many 2XLs do I need and that kind of thing, you know. So I was considering that. Um, Not to make money, but to support what I am doing here, because StreamYard does cost me money every month, and Canva, which I use frequently to create graphics, cost me money every month. I'm just looking to maintain what I'm doing here. This is a hobby after all, and hobbies do cost money. Um, so if you are interested in any merch, let me know. Let's see. V-neck women's t-shirt. Got it, Laurie. That is noted. All right. Keep an eye out. I am working on that in the background, hopefully up and running in the next couple of weeks, an online store. I will definitely keep you guys posted. And give me more input, guys. I would love to know what you would think. I know personally, I would like a gals, ghosts, and ladies coffee cup. I do like this one for my live streams, but I would like a gals, ghosts, and ladies coffee cup. So let's see. Oh, before we go on tonight, I would like to take a moment and acknowledge. Let's see, I'm going to hide that. Take a moment and acknowledge the passing of Eric von Daniken. Also, the passing of Bob Weir, old deadhead right here. That's for damn sure. But that would be for another podcast. Tonight, we're talking about mysterious and macabre stuff. So I want to just acknowledge the passing of Eric von Daniken, who, in my estimation, was what I would call the father of the modern day ancient alien theory. So if you don't watch Ancient Aliens and you're into mysterious and macabre and perhaps paranormal and alternative stuff, I would recommend watching Ancient Aliens, and I would recommend watching it from season 1, episode 1, and find out who Eric von Daniken is. He wrote a book called Chariots of the Gods, and it's like I said, he's the father of the ancient alien theory as we understand it today. He didn't say aliens came down and did this or did that. What he did say was that maybe modern science got some things wrong as far as dating things, as far as determining how some things were built, and talks about other alternative ways and alternative theories. And in the meantime is also a staunch Christian. So he's not like sacrilegious at all. So I would highly recommend. And yeah, so I did want to acknowledge that. But another reason why I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Eric von Daniken tonight is because we are going to be talking about Bisbee, Arizona. And Bisbee, Arizona is I guess a hotbed, or very well known for some UFO sightings and some UFO activity, which we're actually not going to talk about tonight. I'm going to give you some of the history of the Wild Wild West that happened there, and then we're going to talk about a couple of the more famous hauntings, 2 locations. Because otherwise I would be talking till 9 o'clock, and I don't want to do that, and you don't want to do that either. So but let's see, what was I saying? So yeah, yeah, I wanted to acknowledge the passing of Eric von Daniken, because like I said, ancient alien theory and a lot of UFO activity in Arizona, for anybody who knows that. So again, I want to thank Kevin Thompson for suggesting this. I want to say rest in peace, Eric von Daniken, and I highly, highly recommend watching Ancient Aliens, starting with season 1, episode 1. You really want to start from the beginning. Also recommend his book, Chariot of the Gods. It really makes you question things, and that's what we want to do here at Gals. We want you to kind of question things. This is for entertainment purposes only, and I don't want you to believe anything that I tell you. Look it up for yourself. But question things. But also, while I'm talking about the book Chariot of the Gods, I also wanted to acknowledge another book that I am reading, The Haunting of Hunt Memorial Library. Highly recommend. It's by Monique Toussoun and Rob Guttrow. And that is a very, very good book as well. So put these couple of books on your reading list and enjoy. So I am going to go ahead and talk about, oh, before I talk about Bisbee, Arizona, I wanted to share some photos with you. So my friend Kevin Thompson, who suggested this topic of Bisbee, Arizona, he lives in Arizona. I went to school with him back in junior high school, and then in high school he moved to Arizona. But Kevin posts some really cool pics, and I do have some limitations on StreamYard. They only allow me to store 10 graphics at a time for like a program, so I'm limited. I wish I could have shown a ton of pictures. Kevin, I don't know what kind of camera you have, but man. So check this out. This is taken by Kevin Thompson. This is sky in Arizona. Let's see, I want to give him photo credit. So photo by Kevin Thompson. Look at that sky, you guys. That is Arizona. Talk about big sky country. Leave that there for a second. I found in reviewing my last live stream, which I do after every live stream, I go back and watch it and kind of critique myself. Found that I didn't leave graphics up for nearly long enough. So there's that. And then also, this is definitely not the best moon pic. Oh my God, Kevin had some great moon pictures, but this one to show, because there's palm trees there. I mean, I think we know it's, like desert and stuff. I don't know. I tended to think of palm trees as more like Florida and California, but to show that there's palm trees there. But again, giving photo credit to Kevin Thompson, who took these pictures, and he gave me permission to take them from his Facebook page. So thank you, Kevin, for these awesome, awesome pictures. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Also, so this is where Bisbee, Arizona is. And you can see where Sedona is. The last time we talked about Arizona, we talked about Jerome, Arizona, which is about 20 miles, I think, northwest of Sedona. But you can see where Bisbee is. It's very, very south, kind of southeast, but it's almost on the Mexican border. It's like 7 miles from the Mexican border. So very, very southeast. And Bisbee was a very popular stop between St. Louis and San Francisco. A very, very popular stop for people. But let's see, to tell you a little bit about Bisbee, Arizona, I'm going to get right into it, and I do have my notes, and you know the drill. This is an 18+ conversation. Like I said, make yourself comfortable. Any housekeeping that I missed, like I said, you guys know the drill. So Bisbee, Arizona, it's 5.2 square miles. Not really big, I guess, as that goes. In southeast Arizona. It's in the desert. It's the county seat of Cochise County, and the county seat used to be Tombstone, but that was moved. And I think that Tombstone, Arizona might be another really good episode for us to talk about here. And probably we'll find some similarities. I found a lot of similarities between this and Jerome, Arizona. Anyways, back to Bisbee. It's got warm, dry summers until monsoon season, and there's a heavy duty monsoon season from July to September. And this is what initially made me reach out to Kevin and ask him to use some of his pictures. So Kevin, this is not, these pictures from Kevin are not Bisbee, and I don't claim for them to be, and neither does Kevin, but they are Arizona and they kind of fit the narrative, and I've just wanted to share with you. So again, photo credit to Kevin Thompson. In the Arizona skies, look at that. That's monsoon season, and look at that building cloud. And I heard something once that said, as far as weather goes, if you want to know if there's bad weather coming, if the clouds look ominous, there's bad weather coming. If the clouds don't look ominous, there's not bad weather coming. And that just kind of made sense to me. Look at the layers and the depth of those clouds. And I think if you look in the upper layers, it already looks like it's starting to rain. So yeah, photo credit to Kevin Thompson of that. And then these two, I hope you can see them. These are also taken by my friend Kevin Thompson, not Bisbee, Arizona, but Arizona in the monsoon season. And just look at those clouds. So what happens during monsoon season is in Bisbee, Arizona, they average 18 inches of rain a year from July to, what did I say, July to September. They get 10 of those 18 inches in that 3-month period. And it's, I just look at that. It's no wonder why. Really good pictures, Kevin. Thank you so much. And I am going to jump over to comments and see. Oh, hi, Kerry and Erin. And oh, hi, Kiara. Thank you. And Kiara, everything's doing fine. Thank you so much. Um, so, all right. So back to this. So again, forgive me. I am looking at my notes. Um, all right. So I told you a little bit about kind of the climate, uh, of Bisbee, Arizona. The winters can be cold and it can snow there. It's grassy, it's got cactus, it is desert. There are tall palm trees, like we showed in that picture from Kevin Thompson. Again, this is not Bisbee, but it is Arizona, and just oh my God, Kevin has just some great pictures. Um, Tall pine trees, scrub acacia. I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. And it does have cedar and cypress trees. And I think cedar trees kind of tend to be a little scrubby too. So that's kind of the area. It was founded in 1880, and it's known for copper, gold, and silver mining, especially copper. Thus the name Copper Queen Mine, we're going to hear a little bit about, and Copper Queen Hotel. We're going to hear more about that for sure. And the town was founded in 1880, backed by Judge DeWitt Bisbee. It was named after him. He was a financial backer for the Copper Queen mine. And this was in the Mule Mountains. So Bisbee was also not only famous for mining copper and gold, and what was the other one I said, and silver. It was also famous for, it was very mineral rich, and there was also something called Bisbee blue turquoise. So Bisbee is famous for its turquoise. And what I found out about turquoise was very interesting. Who, especially my age, didn't we all go through a turquoise? Didn't we all have that same turquoise pinky ring back in the 70s? Come on, girls. You all had it. I had it. You had it. Anyways, turquoise is, let's see, it's a mineral that is hydrated from copper and aluminum. Now, I'm no scientist and I'm painting that with a very, very broad brush. So it is a mineral. It's also known as a precious gem. And turquoise has been, for millennia, been popular for millennia. Egyptian pharaohs used it. We know that indigenous people in the Americas used it and found it as a precious stone. The aristocrats 3,000 years ago in China utilized it in jewelry. Let's see, Aztec kings utilized turquoise. Who knew? You know, so but Bisbee is famous for Bisbee blue turquoise. Also very mineral rich, and I am going to read for you a list of minerals. I don't know what any of these are, but supposedly really good specimens have been taken out of Bisbee, Arizona. Let's see. Where is that list? All right, ready? And if anybody knows what these are, speak up, let me know. Cuprite, aragonite, wolfenite, malachite, azurite, and galena. And galena reminds me of Wicked, right? Galena. But anyways, so very mineral rich. So very mineral rich and precious gem rich and copper and gold and silver and all that kind of stuff. So it was heavily mined. And of course, when you have towns that are heavily mined like that, they become a boom town. They almost overnight kind of pop up out of nowhere. And I thought I heard my dog come in. Guess not. If he came in, I would have to stop and pet him, and you all know that, because you would all do the same thing too. So anyways, So yeah, so this was a boom town, and what did you have when you have a boom town and you have a very sudden population and you've got money is rolling in, you've got rich people, you've got hotels. Malachite is green and Carrie loves turquoise too. Yep. Um, mining all that stuff, people made a fortune. And that meant people gambled and they drank and they did drugs and they worked in the mines. And mining was really, really dangerous business. And there were a lot of bars and there were a lot of saloons. It was very rowdy. Of course, it's rowdy when you have alcohol and women and gambling and really dirty, heavy mine work, very, very dangerous work. There was no OSHA back then. There were no labor unions back then. You didn't call the Teamsters or the AFL-CIO if you were working overtime and not getting paid, or that they weren't giving you a face mask because you were going underground. It was very, very dangerous work. Um, so there was a lot of accidents, there were a lot of death by accidents, there were a lot of things like amputations, there were a lot of diseases like black lung, and then you have to factor in so many other things. You've got to factor in when you've got brothels and you've got prostitution, you've got STDs, and you've got unwanted pregnancies, and you've got unrequited love. And we're going to talk a little later about a story at the Copper Queen Hotel about a prostitute whose love was for a man was not returned, and what her fate was, and how that will play into our story. Um, but these things, when you think of the rowdy and the raucous and the fun and the music and the girls and the wild, wild west, the raucous, the rowdy, the wild, wild west, with all that insane high comes really crashing lows. Again, brothels, the women, STDs, unwanted pregnancies, unrequited love, and people do crazy things when they're in love and it's not given back to them. Like I said, we'll find that out. So a lot of bad energy happens in those kind of places. So anyways, I was talking about the Copper Queen Hotel. Let's see, it was constructed between the years of 1898 and 1902, so it took 4 years to build it. And it was constructed by the Phelps Dodge Mining Company originally to house the elite visitors to the mining company, kind of the VIPs. What I will say about the Copper Queen is that it is Arizona's longest continuous operating hotel. And let me see, Copper Queen, here's a picture of it back in the day. And I did just take a snip off of Google for this. And then this is what it kind of looks like today. And also, this is just a snip off of Google. What's really weird about this town is the way it's built. So because it's built kind of into the side of the mountain, um, there are a lot of stairs. So you would park down here on the street and then you would go up the stairs to your house. So any of my Massachusetts people, this reminded me of two places. So that was back in the day. I'm going to show a more current photo. That's kind of more what it looks like. Which is still this, I think this is kind of old. But you see those steep stairs. So you'd have the street down at the bottom and go way up. So it reminded me of, what did I say, two things. Well, it reminded me of one thing right off the bat was West Quincy. Anybody has been to West Quincy? I can't remember what the second one that it was that it reminded me of, but anybody been to West Quincy? It's a it was a quarry town, and the properties are built like kind of right on top of each other, and it seems to be. Oh, the other place, Boston Peeps. So not just West Quincy. It reminds me of that. It reminds me of Savin Hill. If anybody from Boston is watching, it reminds me of Savin Hill. How at the top would be Savin Hill, like the park, and it backs up to like Marcy Boulevard. So if anybody knows those two places, really, really strange places, but this is very unique kind of construction to me, how it is. And that would be a hell of a walk carrying your groceries up. And that's that's Christ, I complain. My driveway's right outside the door, and I complained about bringing my groceries in. I'm an old lady, but what can I say? So again, just really, really bizarre. And again, in West Quincy, there were granite quarries, and they really stacked a lot of housing on top of housing. So I know, Sandy, what a workout. When me and my husband were first looking at houses, we saw one house that was advertised way up some stairs, and it was advertised like this: get your daily work, or get your daily steps in every day when you come home from work. No, thank you. No thanks. So that just kind of really bizarre. I thought kind of unique. I can think of two other places that look like that: West Quincy, and Savin Hill, the way it backs up to whoops, the park and Morrissey Boulevard and all that. So anyway, so like I said, I'm gonna talk a little more about the Copper Queen Hotel shortly. Um, the town of Bisbee, while it was funded in 1880, was incorporated in 1902. And also wanted to mention another place that was built between 1908 and 1909. A place called the Oliver House was built, not to be confused with the Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts, that I talk about all the time. So this is not the same Oliver House, of course, because we are talking about Bisbee, Arizona. So the Oliver House in Bisbee, Arizona was built. They built, rebuilt. I being my own research assistant, I had a limited amount of time, and I'm missing some details, and I apologize. Hey, Paranormal XL. Hi, Gigi. How's it going? Nice to see you. I just whacked my microphone. So, anyways, I don't have all the minutia details, but like I said, part of the reason why I present this is to pique your curiosity. Go look it up yourself if you find it interesting. But the Oliver House, I say built slash rebuilt, like all these other mining towns. Again, there's just such a common thread through all these places. There was a fire. And so the Oliver House was rebuilt at some point. So there was a fire, and at the Oliver House, um, 27 people perished in that fire. So that, I think, kind of lends to some of the things that we're talking about in Bisbee. We're talking about very emotionally charged location, miners, hardworking, sickness, accidents, brothels, the things that we talked about that go on there. Thankfully, there were two hospitals in Bisbee. But I don't think they were as advanced. If anybody remembers when we talked about Jerome, Arizona, Jerome, Arizona had very, very advanced hospitals. And the hospital that became the Jerome Grand Hotel had a very advanced, like, women's section or women's department. And I said I thought that that was very interesting. That was very advanced for the early 1900s. And I felt, this was strictly my opinion, and I stick by it, that that was really meant as a means to address STDs and unwanted pregnancies, and things had to be dealt with. And again, not making a comment one way or the other on abortions, but you know that things happened there, and thankfully things happened in a medical setting. That's all I would say about that. So, but I didn't find quite the advanced medical setting in Bisbee, but Bisbee did have two hospitals Anyways, Oliver House was back to that. Again, not to be confused with Oliver House in Middleborough, built slash rebuilt between 1908 and 1909, and 27 people did perish in a fire there. And we are going to talk more about the Oliver House in a few minutes because there were some other things that happened there. And I do want to tell you, for my research, like I said, look, I'm not going to tell you my sources, look it up yourself. But I did go old school when I looked up paranormal evidence. I went old school and I watched Ghost Adventures. I definitely recommend it for their episode of Haunted Bisbee. It was a really good episode, and it was an old episode. Nick was on it and blah blah, and it was so, but I do recommend it. It was really good, and they captured some pretty good evidence, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm old school anyways. I like Ghost Adventures. Um Mark, leave that. I am going to file that away for paranormal, mysterious, and macabre Jeopardy. People, pay attention in the comments. Things just might show up in this game show that I'm developing. Thank you for that tidbit, Mark. Oops. And yes, Mark, it was a great episode of Ghost Adventures. I watched it today. So here I am knocking my notes around, and I am sorry about that. So, all right. So I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. Let's see. In 1917, oh, talk about charge of energy. In 1917, there were some violent labor riots in Bisbee, Arizona. It seems that the International Workers of the World, which was a labor union, they were trying to organize the miners into a labor union for, I would, from where I sit, I would say obvious reasons, but I think you can think of the obvious reasons too. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, like I said, there wasn't OSHA, there weren't child labor laws, there weren't labor laws, there weren't overtime laws, there weren't safety standards, there weren't sick days, there wasn't maternity leave, there wasn't paternity leave. So I think you get my drift. And also, there were many immigrants. There were Chinese immigrants, there was railroad activity going on, and there were also let me go back to my earlier graphic, Mark. There's probably some really good marijuana going on there in Bisbee as well, not just peyote, but close to Mexico. So there was a big, very large Mexican population that worked in the mines and were discriminated against terribly. You know, I'm not here to make any commentary one way or the other. We know what the facts are, and they were discriminated against. So, anyways, the IWW, International Workers of the World, did try to organize. In 1917, there were no safety controls in the mines, no labor laws, like no pay, like I said, no benefits, no health insurance, no OSHA. There were fires, there were explosions, there were mine collapses, and there were diseases. There were lung diseases, there were STDs, there were other, what I would call regular run-of-the-mill diseases. There were influenza outbreaks, there was tuberculosis. So now you've got widows, and you've got widowers, and you've got unwanted pregnancies, and you've got unwanted babies, and you've got poverty, and you've got drugs, and you've got illegal activity, and you've got all these things going on, just fueling kind of the atmosphere, and the labor riots are going on. All this is going on in the early 1900s in Bisbee, Arizona. Quite tumultuous. All while the raucous wild west is happening, and there's music, and there's drinking, and there's merriment. There's that word again. Pay attention to that word. That word is going to make its way into paranormal trivia. Merriment, merrymaking. Maybe it's not so innocuous or fun maybe as it sounds. We shall see. Anyways, so let's see. In 1917, the Phelps Dodge Mining Company hired private police and they deputized people from the sheriff's department to kidnap at gunpoint 1,000 striking workers and put them in boxcars and transfer them 16 hours in a boxcar with no food, no water, no sanitary facilities, in the desert, packed in cattle cars, and transported 16 hours in the desert to Hermanas, New Mexico, and left there. And that shows you the power of the mining companies, that they rounded up 1,000 people and packed them into cattle cars on the railroad and shipped them off to another state 16 hours away and left them there. And earlier that same year, there was a similar incident in Jerome, Arizona. So a lot of labor disputes at that time. So again, a lot of energy swirling around in this area. And what is that going to make? What kind of activity is that going to make for? And then also when you factor in, you've got all this stuff going on, you've got all this mining going on underground. On the layer of the earth, you've got all this energetic stuff going on. And then you get this. Then you've got monsoons. And again, photo credits to Kevin Thompson. And anybody watching from Bristol, Connecticut, yeah, that Kevin Thompson, the one from Westwoods. But then you got to factor in, you've got that kind of energy too. So I just kind of bring all these things in to show you kind of like what a mixing kind of like a I don't know, not a cyclone, but a really kind of a perfect storm, so to speak. And then you've got the UFO activity going on overhead. Jeez, oh my God, what else could be going on here? Well, I'll tell you. Since you're here, I hope you're all cozy and comfortable and drinking your favorite drink. Let's see. In 1919, there was the Battle of Brewery Gulch. July 3rd, 1919, white law enforcement clashed with black soldiers returning from World War II. This was part of what was called the Red Summer, which was part of kind of a dark period in American history where our racism was showing really bad. Again, I'm not here to make any political comments or social commentary. I am here to state facts. That's all. And that was a time called the Red Summer in the United States. And there was a lot of racism going on and a lot of this kind of thing where law enforcement was attacking. Mobs of law enforcement were attacking black soldiers who had served their country, who were returning home from World War II. And again, it was just, there were racially charged incidents like that all over the United States that summer. And that is why it was called the Red Summer. It was really a big rumbling, I guess, kind of a big start to working towards the civil rights movement. I mean, this was 1919, long before Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, that kind of stuff, those kind of people, and Miss Rosa Parks. But these kind of things were happening, and I think that people were realizing just how unjust this kind of stuff was, and so that's all I'm going to say about that. But it's bloodshed on that earth. It's bloodshed in Bisbee. So it kind of lends itself to what is going on in this place. Oh my goodness, right? So as time went on, the mining declined and the population declined. Not quite so drastic as Jerome. Jerome went from like 10,000 people to 400 people, something very, very drastic. Bisbee wasn't quite so drastic. I don't have the particulars about that because I really wanted to talk about that part of the history and about true hauntings. And if I got into every little detail, I would have to do an episode on Bisbee every single week. There's just not enough hours in the day to present everything about everything, if you get my drift. So anyways, and as time went on, the mining declined and the population declined. And then in the 1970s, the area was started being refurbished. I'm sorry, I don't have the names of the artists who bought the Copper Queen Hotel. Um, but now, from what I understand, the area is very vibrant. It's very colorful. It's a very inclusive area, very friendly. It's touristy in a good way. Like I said, it's very art and crafty, um, very artisan, popular. It's very colorful community, and federal money has definitely been thrown into to help develop this. There's been private development and federal development. So let's see, where are we? So I've got page 3 and 4, 3 and 4. Which one do I want to talk about first? Oliver House, again, not to be confused with Oliver House in Middleborough. This is Oliver House in Bisbee, Arizona, in the Copper Queen Hotel. I guess I'll go with the Copper Queen Hotel. So it is Arizona's continuously operated hotel, which I think is cool. It's been operating since 1902. But there is a room 315 in the Copper Queen Hotel. It's the Julia Lowell room. Incidentally, I have a little aside here. I was talking earlier about UFO sightings. The mass UFO sighting that Bisbee was part of was seen at the Lowell Rotary in Bisbee, and I wondered if it was named after Julia Lowell, who, as the story goes, was a prostitute at the Copper Queen Hotel in room 315. And she professed her love for one of her customers, and he spurned her. He did not love her back, or he did not profess the same love back. She was completely rejected. And so she did kill herself in her room. Ghost Adventures says outside her room. So that would be interesting. They're usually pretty good on their research, whether you like them or not, for their style. I just happen to like them because they're just OG to me. It all started with them for me. With no big camera crews following us around, it made it attainable to me. And anybody out there that's in my age group, you got to think about that. You looked at them and you went, oh, yeah, I could do that if I had a $89 camera from Amazon. So, but anyways, so like I said, I do trust that if Zach Bagans said it happened outside the room, that is definitely a possibility. Anyways, so this spirit, Julia, in room 315 at the Copper Queen Hotel, is known to interact with males who stay in that room. She's known to play with men's feet and to whisper in their ears. And also, it's been reported the smell of sweet perfume left behind in that room, reported by men and women. Incidentally, I think that the Copper Queen Hotel does have a guest book where guests can record their own experiences. Same thing at the Grand Hotel in Jerome and in so many other places too. So I think that's kind of cool. If you go to a place like that, you can read what other people have experienced. And yeah, whispers have been heard, and apparently her ghost appears or has appeared drinking and dancing. That would be interesting to see. There's also sightings at the Copper Queen Hotel of a bearded man, and he's sighted sometimes with a top hat and a cape. So I wondered if he's not a customer of the brothel, was he a VIP? The Copper Queen Hotel was built for VIP visitors for the Phelps Dodge Mining Company. Was he a VIP? That just made me think very aristocratic. However, you could be aristocratic and visiting a brothel as well. I don't mean to imply that the two are mutually exclusive, because they are not. So anyways, but he's not been identified by name. Nobody actually knows who he is or how he died or what his connection is to that location. And then there's also the story of a boy named Billy. Now, I think, looking at my notes for both places, I think that there's There's a boy named Billy in both places. I do not think that it's the same boy, or it might be. Both places are haunted by an 8-year-old named Billy, and I just don't know if they're the same or different. I will say this about the Ghost Adventures episode, and Mark said that was a great episode. Yeah, it was. They were talking to this little boy Billy in the hotel room, I think at the Copper Queen Hotel, and if not, it was at the Oliver House. It was at one of them, and they were talking to this kid, and the shower curtain moved, and it was on camera, and they really tried to debunk it, and it was just crazy. It's crazy, but it had something to do with the little boy Billy. I don't know, maybe drowning in the bathtub or something, or having an incident in the bathtub. I don't know. I don't know. But again, go and watch it. I do recommend it. They had some really cool evidence if you believe in that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, so Billy, there's a ghost Billy, I think, in both places. But back to Julia, Julia Lowell, the prostitute who killed herself because of her unrequited love. Her story inspired a movie called The Copper Queen. I have not checked it out, although I would like to. And apparently, it explores themes of trauma and control, rejection, wealth, exploitation, redemption. I like all those things in a movie. So I think it sounds pretty good to me. So seriously, I would have to check it out. Because it sounds like Julia lived a very tragic life and has a very tragic story. I think you find again a common thread. These mining towns with these brothels, and you think of the merriment and the fun and the raucousness. Well, there's really a lot of sadness going on in these places, and there are illnesses and diseases, mental illnesses, sadness, suicides, unwanted pregnancies. All that kind of stuff goes on in these places, and that kind of stuff creates energy, and it leaves an energy, and it inputs the energy. And I think you know what I mean. I'm not making any scientific claims. I'm just saying that it contributes to something. It's got to. It's got to. Yeah, so Julia's story, it sounds like it inspired a really good movie. I've got to check that out. So there's the Copper Queen Hotel. There's some of the very basics. There's so much more to the hauntings. Really, look up YouTube, Google it, check it out yourself. You all have a Google finger. You know what I say. Don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. But it's got a fascinating history, the whole town of Bisbee. So that kind of leads me to the other place that I wanted to talk about, the Oliver House, which definitely, again, not to be confused with the Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts. The Oliver House has a little bit more of a dark history, I would say. It does sit atop a hill overlooking the town. Let's see, I've got to have a graphic of the Oliver House here. There it is. Do I have more than one graphic? No, I just have the one of the Oliver House. So there it is. And again, built in 1908 to 1909, boarding house. But before it was a boarding house, it was the offices for the mining company. So I don't know when the fire happened and 27 lives lost, and I don't know who the 27 lives were. If they were mining company office people, if they were people that lived in the rooming house, and people that lived in the rooming house certainly worked for the mines and worked for other places as well. So yeah, boarding house. Now in 1920, there was an unsolved murder. A man named Nat Anderson was shot. It didn't say shot in the face or in the eye. It said shot in the eyes. So he was shot in the eyes. He was murdered in his room. I guess he opened his door and was greeted by a man. So apparently Nat Anderson was having an affair with the wife of, the only thing I could find was the wife of a money man. Oops, the wife of a money man for the mine. So that could mean an accountant. It could mean, I don't know, could mean a backer. I don't know. So this guy, Nat Anderson, who lived in a boarding house, was having an affair with somebody above his status, and the husband found out about it and shot him and was never caught. They never found out exactly who did it. So that murder was unsolved. So Visions, Nat Anderson is seen in the Oliver house, wandering. Um, and I would imagine so. It's an unsolved murder. We know the kind of imprints those things. You also have to consider this is on gold, and this is on copper, and this is on things that conduct electricity. And I've said to you all before, look up the stone tape theory. I'm a firm believer in that. I live near granite. I believe that certain rocks or minerals or things in the grounds can retain energy and almost replay them as residuals. So I think that it's very possible that some of these things are retained and can be seen by certain people with certain abilities. That's just one possibility. Do I believe that hard and fast? No. But again, that's just one possibility. Open up your mind and tell me what you think. So also, oh, and by the way, this the Oliver House is now a B&B, a bed and breakfast. But there's also something called the Blue Room, and this is haunted by the presence of a jealous cop. Ooh, yikes. That sounds scary. Who went on a, wait for it, murderous spree. So in 1932, this cop, he caught his wife having an affair with somebody in the Oliver house, and he barged in and he shot his wife and he shot the guy and then he shot everybody he could find and then himself. Um so his wife was having an affair with a mining employee living in the rooming house. So I think the women who were having an affair with these guys were kind of maybe slumming a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? Um, and then later, I think this is in more current times. I don't know what year. In later times, there's the story of a local DJ. Now, this has got to be, I'm sure if I had more time, could easily verify this story of a local DJ who had made a wager with somebody for $100 that he could spend the night in the Oliver House Hotel, and he fled. And he forfeited the bet. Said, you can have here. Here's a hundo. I am out. He said he came face to face with Nat's ghost. Nat, the unsolved mystery, the man who was shot in the eyes, not in the face, not in the eye, in the eyes. But this DJ forfeited $100 and he fled the hotel and he didn't make the night. He said he came face to face with this ghost. And then also there's a story of the 8-year-old boy named Billy being here too. So I think maybe it's two Billies. One of them drowned outside in the San Pedro River. One of them drowned in one of the hotels. I'm not sure. Go back and watch Ghost Adventures. I'm giving them a great plug tonight. But I'm sitting here, big reason because of Ghost Adventures. So check it out. And you can Google what season it is. So that's kind of a really very broad overview of Bisbee, Arizona. Another great suggestion from Kevin Thompson. We've got so many factors kind of swirling around here. It's like a cauldron. You've got mining, things going on underground. You've got things like copper and gold, which are great conductors of electricity. You've got minerals and crystals, and we know those conduct energy and transfer energy and can heal and can make people sick. And then you've got all the other things that go on with mining and the gambling meaning great amounts of wealth and great amounts of loss. And anybody who's ever listened to this gal talk, let me get my soapbox out. A gambling addiction is really not much different than a cocaine addiction, other than the means of how you get the high. The brain scans show that gambling addiction and cocaine addiction look the same in the brain. So when you've got when you've got gambling and you've got that kind of addiction going on. You've got all the other kind of like crimes and shit that goes on with that kind of stuff too. So you got a lot of stuff going on in Bisbee, Arizona back in the day. Now, certainly they enjoy their haunted history and they encourage it. And it looks like they have some very fun tours and tour guides. And I'll tell you what, I have got to put Bisbee, Arizona on the bucket list. You guys got to help me create some kind of like gals list, or we've got to start rating things. I don't know, like 5 gals, 5 ghosts, 5 ghosts and ladies. I'll give that 3 ladies, gals, or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Some kind of rating system. Like, how bad do we want to visit some of these places? Like, I have to admit, anything that I presented to you, there's been nothing mediocre. There's been nothing where I've gone, yeah, man, this place looks all right. Anything that I've decided to sit down and talk to you about personally for myself, I've been absolutely captivated with the information that I have found. I always am sorry I don't have more time. I always find so much more information than I expect to find. I always find things that I had no idea about. So I certainly hope that you learned something tonight that you didn't know too. I think that Bisbee, Arizona seems absolutely fascinating. And again, the reports of ghost sightings and EVPs that are crazy. Again, go back to that Ghost Adventures episode. Um, there's an interview. Oh my God, in the Ghost Adventures episode, there's an interview with a guy that works at one of the hotels, and he'll tell you a story about the furniture being moved within 5 minutes of him turning his back. Really, really crazy stuff. And I think that based on just the little bit of the history that we talked about, very teeny tiny bit of the history that we talked about, it's not surprising that Bisbee, Arizona is haunted. Um, so I think I am going to really start winding things up. I have been talking for almost an hour. This has been such a fun project to research. This book report has been brought to you by Jennifer at Gals, Ghosts, and Ladies. I hope I get an A+. Thank you. But as always, I want to remind you all that I am my own research assistant. So any research errors are mine. On my graphic on Facebook, Kerry knows this, I called it Bixby, Arizona. So I'm my own graphic designer, so I made that mistake too, and I am sorry about that. But basically, back to what I was saying, I do hope that you enjoyed hearing about Bisbee, Arizona. Laurie, thank you. A+. And Laurie, this one was for you. Definitely at your request. So I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned. I am definitely working on a game show with some trivia, with some stuff that you might hear about here. I'm interested in who wants to be some contestants. DM me. And thank you, Sandy, for that A+. And you can always go back and watch my other episodes on YouTube, because I just might be asking trivia questions about that. We'll have some prizes and stuff. But again, stay tuned. I'm working on setting up an online store. I do hope you'd be interested in some t-shirts and some coffee cups. I am not looking to make some money. I'm simply looking to support my little humble channel here that does cost me money on StreamYard and Canva and those kind of things. And that's all I'm looking for. So I hope to have that up and running soon. I want to thank every single one of you that tuned in and watched tonight. I'm humbled and I am moved by all of you. And I do have so many exciting things coming up. A lot of irons in the fire, as they say. I hope you all enjoyed everything tonight. Now I'm just kind of babbling. Thank you all for watching. I'm sorry that I couldn't comment to each and every one of you. I had a lot of fun tonight. I hope that you all did too. Thank you guys for the A+. I really appreciate it. So I am going to end stream, play outro, and thank you, Kerry, and thank you, everybody. And I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.